Hey everyone. I see lots of people already here. So awesome that you're here. We're going to discuss a little bit about your career. So I want to make this very, very interactive. So, hey Adelaide, awesome to see you here. So I want to make this very, very interactive. So basically, hey Miguel, so awesome. Lots of cool people. Lama, how are you doing? Awesome. Yeah, Scott was complaining how the font is small and my computer sits on the back. And so, yeah, say, hey, Aguinaldo, awesome to have you here. So, lots of people. Okay, good. All right. So, hey, Fred. So, just kind of before I get, so what I want to do here is I want to answer your question, right? So, what is the biggest thing that's going on your career right now? What is the thing that kind of prevent you from advancing, or what is the thing that you want to do and you don't know what to do? So, ask questions here in the chat. Put lots of questions right here on the chat, so I can help you out with. And one thing I want to tell you is that I know we're a little bit late in terms of the event, so I'm going to try to get my session a little bit shorter because because I want to get us back on track, right? And I'm going to spend more time on the tables, especially later today. So basically, what we decided that looks like not a lot of people are going to the table because you want to watch here the session, right? So we're going to extend the event to have more time for the tables later on if you want to do that. But by all means, go there. We have lots of cool people having a one-on-one conversation with you. So if you want to discuss, becoming a senior, you can go there with Douglas. Scott's there to talk about refactoring. Albert is there to talk about architecture. I mean, not architecture, but about frameworks. Hugo's there to talk about architecture. But I want to see, okay, how to re-enter the workforce, right, after retirement and COVID-19. All right, so no, you're saying that, and by the way, everyone, you can raise your hand if you want to speak here. You can raise your hand, so maybe that's easier. But you can also speak at the tables later on. So no, so you are retired, and the whole thing about COVID. So first of all, the fact that you are retired, it's not very hard. It's not a problem, right? It's not a problem at all. So you can come back to work at any time. But the most important thing that you have to understand about getting a job, right? That's why you're asking about, coming back to the workforce. The most important thing that you have to understand about getting a job is that, getting a job is all about trust, right? This is the thing that you have to really understand. Getting a job is about trust, right? So, when you go to an interview, people, they're going to interview you, they want to trust you, right? And so the best way, a lot of people think that the best way to make trust is to actually, know a lot of stuff and go to be very prepared for interviews. So yeah, that's a good way to get trust at the interview itself, right? But the problem is that if you only show trust at the interview, you're already too late to the game, right? That's the problem, man. That's the problem, no? Because, look, people need to trust you. When people trust you, they hire you. So here's a job, right? Job, right? When they trust you, they hire you. So that's very, very important. Trust, it's very important. Now, there's lots of times that people can trust you, right? So, so when you do an interview, right? When you're at the interview and people ask you questions and they test you, then, they can trust you here. And if they trust you here, there is a chance that you get a job, right? But there are other people there, so maybe you're going to lose for other people, right? Now, the problem is if you only get trusted here during the interview process, you know what happened? No, there are other people that are trusted here before the interview, right? They're trusted here before. Let me just say before here, right? Before the interview, right? So if people are trusted before the interview, those people here have an advantage over you, no? Why? Because, if I trust them here, a lot of times I don't even need to interview them. I can just hire them directly for the job, right? And let me tell you this. This is what we call, well, no, there's even more than that, right? If I trust you, there's another level of trust. So, all right, so here is, instead of before, let me just say here, job offer, right? Offer. Okay? So there is an offer on the internet of a job, right? So if you're trusted, before the interview, but I trust you before on the offer, right? I can give you a job without the interview. But now there's another person here that I trust him before the position even exists, right? Before the position. What does this even mean, right? So if I trust you, before the position even exists, I can talk to you to help me create the position. So I can hire you before there is an offer on the internet, before there's an interview process. I can already hire you. This here, right? This is visible, right? All this here is visible. People can see that, right? Now, this here is invisible. We call this the hidden job market, right? This is the hidden job market, guys. And let me tell you this, depending on the position, up to 75% of people are hired here, right? 75%, up to 75% of people are hired here before the position even exists, right? Before there is an offer on the internet, before there is any interview planned, people are already hired. That's what we call the hidden job market, right? And so people need to trust for you to get back on the job market. And if you are trusted here, then they'll find the perfect job for you and hire you before you even go to the interview process. Now, how do we create this trust, right? How do we create this trust before the position exists, right? This is crazy, right? Well, how you do this? By doing like this, like we're doing here, by going and meet people, right? So how do you get this trust right here? This trust right here, you have to meet people, right? So you have to have a good network that we call, right? So we have to meet people. But more than that, people need to meet you. Make sense? No? So what does that mean? People need to meet you. That's why what I think is the most important skill that will completely put your career under control. That's very important, right? The skill. I know a lot of people think that I need a lot of technical skills. That's great. Yes, you do need a lot of technical skills because people need to trust you, right? So they trust you for the technical skills. So that's very important. There's 4 very, very important skills that you need as a developer, right? You need to read code, write code, deliver code, and you need to solve problems. Those are very, very important. Those are the 4 skills that make you a developer. A developer is someone that solves problems by reading, writing, and delivering code. That's what developer is, right? Someone that solves problems by reading, writing, and delivering code. So those 4, the technical skills are very important, right? But there's a 5th skill that is the one that's going to let you control your career. That's the skill that's going to rule. They're going to get your career under your control, under your rule, right? What is that skill? Is sharing. Okay, sharing is the most important skill for you to control your career. So 5 skills: read, write, deliver code, right? Read, write, and deliver code, solve problems, and share what you know. The 5th skill, share what you know. By sharing what you know, what happens? When you share what you know, then people trust you, right? They trust you on what you share, on what you know. When they trust you on what you share, what you know, what happens? What happens is that now they trust you before the interview. They trust you before there's an offer. So they trust you before the position was even created. Why? Because they trust you on your sharing. And that will get you the most amazing, the best jobs in the market. That will get you, even that will help you get back from retiring. That will help you get back on your feet after COVID. Sharing what you know is really what's going to happen, right? Then someone here, Go Wagon. Okay, so yeah, it's very faint, the font here, right? But he asked about how to effectively meet people during COVID. So doing right here, that's one of the reasons why we're doing this event this way, is because that's allow you to meet people, right? So you're here, you're asking questions, so that's awesome, right? But not only that, we have the tables, right? So go to the tables, talk with people there. But when you go ask questions on the chat, that's a great way that like you're doing, right? Introduce yourself. We have a networking capability here, right? So if you go to the lounge, there's a one-on-one networking. So go there, experiment the one-on-one networking. Figure out any way that you can to to actually go meet new people. But one very, very important thing is that what you can do is go share, right? Go share what you know. Go share to anyone, or share to your coworkers, right? Share on your user group. Go share on for a university, right? Do you know a university that you study at? Call a professor, send them an email and say, look, I'm a developer and I work in this company and I really want to share with your students, right? So then you can go on YouTube, have students watching you, and you say, Bruno, it's the students. You're talking about getting a job, right? How come I can present to students? How that's going to help me? Well, it will, because the more you share, right, to anyone, the more you show up. You're going to show up on YouTube. You're going to show up on social media. You're going to show up on places. You're going to show up, and then when you show up, people will meet you. That's a harder part. You're totally right, man. By discussing. So Douglas says, by coming to an event like this, that's a great point, right? So basically, this coming to events is a good thing, but if you go share, look, remember, share what you know is the most important skill, because actually by sharing, people will meet you. Make sense? People will meet you if you go share, right? And that's important. So go learn this. Go, you can write on social media. You can write posts on your blog. You can do all kinds of things. So Lorenzo says, this is the most awesome speak about the subject I ever heard. So thanks a lot, Lorenzo. Awesome, right? Interesting tip, says Lama. So that's great. All right. So okay, so come on, ask me questions about this, right? If that was an interesting speak, ask me questions, because what I want to do now is that I want to go to the tables in a couple of minutes, because the time I'm going to finish my presentation right now, so we can get back on track. Let me just tell y'all here while I'm waiting for the last question. So last question, come on, ask the last questions before we have to start the next session. Okay. Let me just let y'all know. Okay, one last question. Oh, there's a question in Q&A here. Okay, yeah. All right. Oh, my name is pronounced vegan. Vegan. All right. Sorry, vegan. Thanks, man. Sorry about that. Okay, vegan. I hope I'll see you on the table so we can talk voice. Right. That's awesome. Okay. Last question here. Oh man, there's lots of questions here. Does GitHub public repository count? Yes, it does, Jonathan. GitHub public repository counts, especially because once you have your code available, people are going to trust you because they can see your code, right? Now, one thing you have to understand, Jonathan, is that a lot of times people are only going to see your repository when they call you for an interview, or when you see an offer and you send your resume. That's not very helpful. What's a lot more helpful, Jonathan, is that if you go share I mean, that you go participate on other people on existing open source project. If you go participate on existing open source projects, Jonathan, what happens that people from the open source project, they're gonna see you and they're gonna meet you. So that's another great way. Go meet people at GitHub. So participate on their projects, and that's a great way for you to do that. So look what you have done, right? Okay. Do you think getting started writing article is a good start? I'm happy to talk about imposter syndrome too. Okay, so Ricardo, imposter syndrome. Let me try to help you with imposter syndrome, right? So what is imposter syndrome? Imposter syndrome is that notion that you don't know enough and that you are imposter, right? So you're like, man, I have no idea what I'm doing right here. I'm kind of scared because I have no idea what I'm doing, and people around me are gonna notice. So here's the thing with this, Ricardo. Software development, it's always a new thing. We never do the same thing twice, right? We always do new things, right? And so that's why every time we're doing something, it's new, and so you don't know what you're doing. So that's true. So imposter syndrome is this notion that you think you don't know what you're doing, but what happens when that's true? Because you've never done that before, and it is true that you have not done that. So that is software development, right? So software development is like this a lot, right? A lot of times we don't know what we're doing. We're learning on the job because it's a new technology, it's a new problem that we never seen before. It's a new API that we have to use. A lot of times we don't know what we're doing. So we feel like imposter, right? We feel like imposter because it's a true thing, right? And so now what happens? You have to learn how to live with it. Bruno, that's not an answer, but yes, that is. You have to learn how to live with it, because if you don't learn how to live with it, what's going to happen? The only time you're not going to feel an imposter is when you're doing the same thing over and over and over and over. And if you do the same thing over and over and over and over, you're going to get bored and you're going to say, my career is stuck because I'm not learning new things. So if you want to learn new things, you have to learn how to live with it. Just, okay, I'm an imposter. I don't know what I'm doing, but to be honest, all the people working with me don't know either, right? So that's okay, right? And so you learn how to live with that, and that's going to be awesome. All right. I have this kind of syndrome. I think so. Yes, all of us have. All of us have, Mauricio. All of us have, Lama, because we're always dealing with new things, right? I have that. A lot of times, look, I'm a consultant, so I go to a project, and it's all new things, right? I have no idea what the guys are doing. I have never seen the code, and I have to figure out. And so I'm always an imposter. So you have to learn how to live with that. Okay. All right. Okay. So I think I have answered all the questions, and I know I still have 2 minutes in my presentation here, but I'm gonna end a little shorter because we're a little late here. I want to just get back to the events on time. So I'm going to leave here. Douglas is the next speaker. He's right here ready. I'm going to go to the tables, and Douglas will start the next session. See you at the tables in a minute. Thanks a lot, guys. See ya.